Hey guys, welcome to Most Craved. I'm Jenna Busch with Legion of Leia.
I'm Silas Lesnick with ComingSoon.net.
I'm William Bibbiani with CraveOnline, and we have a special guest.
I'm KATHARINE EMMER.
And I guess if you've been watching Most Craved since last year's South by Southwest show, I recommended one of my favorite movies of the festival, which was Catharine's Life in Color.
Which was fantastic. I got to watch it yesterday, and it was absolutely beautiful. And considering everything you did on that film, I don't know how you managed that. That was incredible, because you directed, produced, wrote, starred in.
Yeah.
Did you do craft services as well?
I did. I bought
What
toilet
were the craft
paper
services?
for the venues. We would usually just order lunch, whatever was close by. But yeah, and then I taught myself how to edit, which wasn't planning on doing that, but it got to the point where I wanted to stick our deadline. So I went to the Apple store and learned how to use Final Cut, and there you go.
Oh my God. And it's so good, and it's this amazing story about these two people who are finding each other and that are completely lost. But I mean, there's some pretty heavy scenes, and I'm curious. I'm always curious when people direct and star in something, how you manage that.
That's a good question. I really had to trust the actors that I put in the film. We didn't have a casting director, so I basically just asked people that I believed in and thought were right for the roles, and I was familiar with their work, so knew that they would bring it. And when you're shooting no budget feature filmmaking, you don't have a lot of time to do a lot of takes, so you really have to trust that your fellow partners will bring it in the moment and in the scene. And we only had one camera, so we couldn't shoot both people's coverage at once, which made the process a little longer. And I trusted that whoever was on the periphery, would tell me if something didn't look right. Sometimes I couldn't even watch playback. We were moving that quickly. So I just really had to trust my very small team of people around me, and it took a village. It wasn't just me doing it. So.
And you also have a dog in the film, which is I can't even imagine trying to direct a dog while being in the scene.
To be honest, this was we didn't audition dogs. This was a dog whose family I used to nanny for, and I would watch him if they went out of town and dog sit for him. So Charlie knew me. And he would we never had to do a take around him. He just always came up on the couch when he was supposed to, because he knew me. So the only thing is he got car sick. So when we'd pick him up from his house in the hills and then bring him to set, he would generally throw up in my boyfriend's car. But beyond that, Charlie's great.
I want to talk. So you made the movie. That's hard enough as it is. You got it into a festival. That's hard enough as it is. Tell me about the process from there. Was just someone saw the movie at the festival and it was like, oh, this is great. Here's all of our money. How does this work? In terms of distribution, or going to other festivals? I would say distribution. Just from that point on, you've crossed those two hurdles. How did the distribution come about? What are the events that make us finally get to see the movie?
That's a good question. I'm doing it sort of in a non-traditional sense, or maybe it will become the new tradition because there's just so much out there happening now. But I was approached by a few distribution companies, but they didn't want to offer any money up front, and they were going to take a huge percentage after it comes out. So I decided to self-release. So I'm going to self-release, and it's going to be on iTunes and Amazon February 11th. And yeah, I'm excited. I didn't need to say that a big company was putting out my first feature. I was really interested in seeing the whole process through. So I'm, promoting it myself and doing grassroots operation. But I'm very proud of it, and I'm excited to have it out there for people to see.
You can do it too.
Yes.
Oh, that's awesome. That's well done.
Yeah, I know. It took, I actually reached out to people like Joe Swanberg, who I had never met before, but he was very kind enough to respond to me and ask, because I knew he had done both, and I wanted, tips. And he said, be prepared if you're going to self-distribute, that it takes a lot of work. And, you may want to be going on to your next one, but this first one is drawing you back. But I was so used to doing everything on this myself that I would feel weird just sort of handing it over if it wasn't for a big price. So I'm excited to say that at least for the first one, I literally did almost everything.
And what is next now? Do you know what your next film is going to be? Are you already working on it?
Yes, I'm on draft 6, and I want to do one more pass before we start sending it out there, but I'm really proud of it. I think I'm wanting to up my cinematic game because I didn't go to film school, and this first one is a talking heads piece. So for the second one, I want it to be more cinematic. It's a little darker, so I'm going to infuse some comedy in it so you can enjoy lightness throughout it as well, but it's about the foster care system and following a specific couple through that, and I'm excited about it.
Yeah. The trajectory, it seems, for a lot of independent filmmakers now is you make your independent movie, you make a couple of those, you break out, and then finally you get to do a superhero movie.
Yeah.
That's as if that's like the ultimate end-all be-all of everyone's career. Is that something that would interest you, or do you want to stay with the human drama?
I don't think I would service the superhero landscape very well. However, I would love to do broad comedy or something large and universal in studio. I think that's its own challenge, and I would be very excited to do that. But I want to prove that hopefully I'm not a one-hit wonder and I can do more than one. And with a slightly bigger budget. But yeah, that whole studio world excites me because usually there's so many people have their hands in it that those movies can become muddled and too broad and not specific, and therefore sort of flop on an artistic level. And I would see that as a great challenge of how can you maintain integrity of the piece but appeal to a broad mass audience and have your film still generate a lot of income and do well.
That is the trick. It's always an industry as well, because movies are expensive. Like, how much was your movie in budget-wise?
Close to $1.
Nice. Oh, well, there you go. Oh, then it's
Yeah.
easy. No problem solved. So you've already made your money back, probably.
Almost.
Yeah.
Almost.
You can just reenact your movie on the street and
Yeah,
throw $1. One.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, it was remarkable. I had a lot of people donating their time. I wrote for the locations that I knew I could get for free, so I didn't have to pay for locations. My DP ran his camera, and he owned his camera, so we didn't have to rent equipment. I really had to get creative if I was going to make it, because I didn't come from money. I don't come from money, have money, so.
Yeah. That's awesome.
High five.
Yeah. Anyone can do it. You can do it too.
Oh, God, it just seems like so much work.
It is a lot of work.
So lazy.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. Well then, shall we?
Yeah, we've got.
And on that note,
Now that
Yes.
we know that Bibbs is lazy.
Wonderful segue.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'd actually like to throw out too just about one more thing about your film is I saw it unaware of the history behind it and how much work you yourself did. I didn't even know that when I watched it that you were also directing it, and was really impressed by it.
Thank you. Thank you. It really, that's why I like acting, because you can take on a role that you think, how the hell am I ever going to do this? There's no way I can do this. And then somehow you come out the other side and you feel empowered and you learn so much. And why not always do things that we can grow from and maybe not think we can do at the beginning, but then you stand on the other side and you feel like $1 million because you accomplished it.
That's impressive. You did every single job.
Yeah, I mean, I had a lot of people helping me, and I tried to surround myself with people who
Just
were...
take the credit.
Okay.
You did everything. Everything on the movie.
Thank you. Yeah, I played all the roles.
Auteur theory at work.
Well, first up in sort of more giant blockbuster movie topics, there's never going to stop being Star Wars or Marvel movies, was the announcement made by.
Yes.
Did we think they would just stop?
No.
That's this is one of those news stories that baffles me, where it's just like, it seems like logic. They'll keep making them because they have the stuff.
When you look at Disney, Disney has always had a very good ability to maintain the sort of worth of things, the Disney vault, and Star Wars, I feel, is one of those franchises that may benefit financially from doing it for a little bit, then stopping for a while, and then coming back.
My counter argument to that, okay, when it's like, yes, sometimes they put things back in the vault. The Buddies franchise. It went from Air Bud Spikes Back, Air Bud, Golden Receiver, and then they have never stopped making.
Well, clearly
Santa
that's going to be the
Buddies,
business model for
Spooky
the
Buddies.
Star Wars universe.
Yes,
Exactly. Well,
based
it
on the
kind
dog
of
movies.
is. They say there's going to be one every year. They're just saying, like, yeah, no, you're not going to
It's
get
not
tired
even
of
one
Star
every year.
Wars.
There's one Star Wars every year. There's about to be 3 Marvel movies a year.
Yeah. And, people talk about superhero fatigue, and I'm probably the wrong person to talk about that because I don't think that I will have that. But I would suspect that at some point the general public is going to say, do I really need to see all of them?
But I always hated that whole like superhero fatigue idea because it implies that the genre is just a fad, and I don't think it has.
Been around for a really long time.
It's like you know what, comedy fatigue. We need to stop making those.
No more funny things.
No one cares, right? No, as long as you keep it varied, you know, because there are trends that go on in comedy and action movies, and they go away and they change. And I'm sure that'll happen with superhero movies, because superhero movies are basically just action movie, except there's a reason why the hero is indestructible.
Yeah, but I mean, I think that sometimes, like the idea of all the Marvel stuff, like it could start to feel sort of like the same thing over and over, because a lot, you know, we've all gotten to the point where we're kind of sick of origin stories. Like
I'm not.
I kind of
like
am.
it. I like
mean,
it when
there's
stories
some
have a
where-
beginning.
Well, there's some like Doctor Strange, totally fine with that being an origin story. Spider-Man, no, I've seen it. I know it.
That. I'll grant
right,
you,
like,
but
but I mean, I think that there's certainly the possibility that people are going to start to feel like, okay, how many times can we save the universe in a year?
That maybe leads into one of the other topics, which is Wonder Woman, which it seems like we're going to get origin elements. Wonder Woman is one of those characters, as big a comic book fan as I am, I don't really know what her origin is anymore. It's changed so
She's
much.
had so many. Right now, she's a demigod. I actually just spent a long time researching Wonder Woman. I mean, I've been a Wonder Woman fan since I had the underoos at 7, but by the time, from what we've just heard, she's going to be 5,000 years old and a retired superhero by the time we see her in Batman v Superman. And something.
Wait, are all the DC superheroes coming out of retirement for this franchise? Because Batman's coming out of retirement, Wonder Woman's coming out of retirement?
You know, it's nice to have second chances.
Okay.
Good.
I suspect that what we're going to see with Batman is the hint that Christopher Nolan's movies sort of happened.
Right. Yeah, I kind of suspect that too. But one of the things
You're
that
not pleased.
they were good.
Make up your damn mind is basically my point. Just do it or not. Batman has been rebooted in the comics and changed in the comics so many times. Same thing with practically every major superhero. It's new. Just let it be new. No one
we
cares.
retcon things. But
Yeah.
but the thing about Wonder Woman is Chris Pine, who's playing Steve Trevor, went on, I believe, Jimmy Kimmel Live and was talking about having a female lead. And what he said was that, you know, she's, all the guy stories are very much about revenge, and that she comes from a place of love and compassion, and it might change things. Now, I mean, that's not necessarily because she's a woman, it's because she's Wonder Woman, and that's some of Wonder Woman's origin. So that's kind of who she is. She's kind and loving, and then she'll kick your ass.
She'll
So
snap your neck around this way if you're too much trouble.
Well, she'll at least tie you up. But
Oh, my.
But that's do a little research in
No.
the history of Wonder Woman.
Oh, it's wonderful.
Yeah.
There was so much bondage in the early 50s
so
comics.
much bondage.
So
but
great.
That's another kind of movie.
it's
Yes.
totally another. Well, that would be an interesting Wonder Woman
Be a
movie. I'm
great
sure
movie.
there's a porn.
Hybrid.
I'm sure.
Oh, there's a lot.
Yeah, I would imagine. But my so trying to get past this. This always happens to me on my podcast. Somehow it always goes to porn. But I think part of this is that I think you can write any revenge story with a female lead and any non-revenge story with a male lead. Like, I don't think it has necessarily to do with the fact that she's a female character.
I wonder if a grander issue there is, I mean, obviously the issue, we need more female heroes in general, but below that, I'm tired of revenge stories. Revenge is a crappy emotion and plot point, and the majority of all revenge stories in this very sort of morally simplistic universe in which we make our movies have to be, oh, revenge, but then I won't take revenge because I'm the hero. You know, and and then Superman actually will kill General Zod and everyone will be mad about it. So I think the revenge story is kind of lame. I never really cared for revenge.
Superman
as a
didn't
plot
kill
point.
What would
Zod
you
out of
rather
revenge.
But I rather, that's a good point. But like, for example, heroes who save people. Remember when people used to do that in superhero stories and movies? It wasn't just about this bad guy killed my parents, I'm going to go get him. It was actually about like rescuing people from disaster and trying to make the world a better place. It was actually about like a certain amount of proactiveness. And yeah, there were villains all over the place, but it wasn't always they killed my girlfriend, I have to kill them.
Women in refrigerators.
Yeah, exactly. And like, listen, I'm not saying that's not a valid story, but when
Right,
you consider how many comic books are published about the superhero genre every month, there's a lot more variety. Movies, yeah, okay, we're getting 3 Marvel movies a year, maybe 1 or 2 DC movies a year. That's still only 5. So if they're all kind of similar in any respect, that's when fatigue does set in, and that's my concern.
Yeah.
And that's something that, well, I'll segue. So there's the new image that they released from Batman v Superman of Batman in what looks like Apocalypse, which is this famous doom planet from the DC universe run by an all-powerful badass named Darkseid. It's that blue guy. It's yet another thing that concerns me about Batman v Superman, which is it looks like it's trying to set up everything, and I'm worried it's not going to have time to be its own movie. You think of something like Avengers Age of Ultron, which, yeah, wasn't that bad, but so much of the problems with that movie is it trying to set up future stuff.
You know,
not telling its
every
own
time I
story.
watch that movie, and I gave it sort of a middling review when it came out, it's better and better. Like, I have...
I like it less
A
and
lot
worse
of-
every time I watch it.
There's so much in it. It doesn't quite work as like one coherent story, and there's parts
Yeah,
all over the place, but
exactly.
there's a lot that is really great.
Well, it's fine if it's in piecemeal, but wouldn't it be great if like the whole thing was awesome?
It would be.
Wouldn't that be nice if we didn't have to
That's the goal.
I'll settle for this Avengers. There's parts of it that are neat. I don't care for that mindset. I don't want people to have low standards for their art.
Yeah, and I mean, I think with this, like, who knows what this is? This might be a flash of something that will then pan out 5 movies from now.
Batman goes off to go into a cave of wonders and takes a bath and sees visions of Batman v Superman 2.
I'm honestly more worried about the fact that Darkseid and Thanos are pretty much the same like cosmic god that is going to face like a similar band of heroes, and we're going to see it on DC and Marvel pretty much at the same time.
Well, who else do you put in the DC movies? Starro? I mean, like, who's the guy? Who's like the big bad?
Well, theoretically, Starro's the one that brings the Justice League together.
In the movie?
Well, in the comic.
Oh, yeah, in the comic,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh, well, but back before it was the tree guy. There was that tree guy. The first issue of Justice League of America was they were fighting this tree guy, and he was like, I'm a big tree. And the Justice League were like, well, we'd prefer you not be. And then they fought, and then they were the Justice League.
Sounds like a good movie.
Doesn't it?
Tree guy.
I think we're out of time this week.
Yes.
But thank you so much for coming
Yes,
on.
thanks for having me.
Yes, and again, movie is available on iTunes and...
Life in Color, it co-stars Josh McDermott from The Walking Dead, and it's on iTunes and Amazon February 11th.
Check
You
it
guys
out.
definitely check it out.
Don't forget to follow us on Twitter. Right about this area. It's where the graphic.